reach the floor. Hey people, beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. And specifically, welcome back to day 2 of my Myers Briggs marathon. In yesterday's video, I talked about what Myers Briggs actually is, what the internet has turned it into, and what I believe we should be doing with Myers Briggs as a tool and a resource. If you missed that, definitely a good place to start, and if not, happy to have you here too. In this video, I am going to talk about why I do not trust the Myers Briggs test or the 16 personalities test. I trust the tool, I trust the framework, but I do not trust the test to deliver accurate results. In this video, I'm going to tell you why, and then I'm also going to tell you the damage it does to have so many people walking through the world and walking through life with incorrect test results. Class is officially in session. In theory, Myers-Briggs is supposed to test your natural tendencies. However, the questions that they ask in the Myers-Briggs test and other similar tests don't test your natural tendencies. They test your current behaviors. There's a big difference between your current behaviors and your natural tendencies, and the explanation for that is that we live in a
cruel, mean, demanding world that doesn't like to let people be themselves.
And that in hundreds, thousands, millions of ways has pulled each of us away from who we naturally are. Our current day behaviors are a reflection of many, many, many things, only one of which on that list is our natural tendencies. Like I said, we live in a world that is pulling us away from our natural tendencies in a million directions at all times for a plethora of reasons. What are the main things pulling us away from our natural tendencies? Lucky for you, this professor has the answer. Hands down, the number one thing that pulls us away from our natural tendencies in life is trauma. Trauma. When we go through traumatic situations, our brain starts trying to figure out what got us in trouble, what got us in pain. Most often, traumatic experiences are not our fault. However, because our brains are looking for answers, we attribute a percentage of the blame or responsibility to ourselves. A percentage, and the percentage varies. With the percentage we do attribute to ourselves, we start asking questions about which of our behaviors or which of our instincts got us in trouble, and very often we will try to update those behaviors or instincts so that they don't get us in trouble again. All of that directly translates to I have a natural tendency that I just got pulled away from through trauma. Another thing, for example, that pulls people away from their natural tendencies, culture. Certain cultures align very closely with specific letters. If you don't know what I'm talking about when I say letters, watch the video from yesterday. I explain what the letters are and where we get them from. Certain cultures align very closely with certain letters, and if you are a person born into a culture or brought into or immersed in a culture that is aligned with a letter opposite yours, it can be very difficult. You may see or have experiences where your otherness, the difference in your natural tendency, gets you in trouble or causes you stress or chaos, and you may begin updating your behaviors or deviating from your natural tendencies for the sake of social survival. On the topic of social survival, when we look at the family unit, we look at the context of home and the people that exist in the home and make the rules in the home and set the tone in the home can absolutely pull children away from their natural tendencies, and you see it every single day. I'll give you an example. My little sister is an introvert and was born into a home with 2 extroverted parents. Both of those extroverted parents look at health and well-being through a lens of extroversion. They look at recreation through a lens of extroversion. They look at decompressing through a lens of extroversion. They look at respect through a lens of extroversion. Everything, all the values, all the approaches, all the expectations are being designed through a lens of extroversion, which is absolutely exhausting and tiring to someone who is a natural introvert and has no authority. Very difficult. I just want to give her a shout out for surviving. And it's not only the home context that does that, it can also, and largely is the school context. The school systems here pull kids away from their natural tendencies day after day after day after day for years and years and years. I know it's not just the United States, I know that it's relatively schools everywhere, but see what happens, for example, is when you go to school every day for 12 years in a row, and the expectations there or the definition of success there is daily pulling you away from your natural tendencies, after enough days, your behavior is going to be updated. If you then go take a Myers Briggs test that asks you about your current behavior, you will get an answer that reflects your current behavior but does not reflect who you are underneath it all. That's the problem. I personally don't see the point in asking questions like, would you rather read a book or go to a party? I don't see the point in asking questions that say, what do you do, rather than why do you do it? Because there are people who would rather go to a party, but because of trauma or expectations or culture or whatever, are sitting their ass at home reading a book. There are people who would rather be reading a book, but because of trauma or expectations or culture or whatever, are at a party absolutely exhausted. I don't see the point. I don't see it. Ultimately, we would want to use a tool like this to help people get fluent in what I call their core operating system. Core operating system, that is not a Myers Briggs term, it is a Halle term. But what I mean by your core operating system is, what are your natural tendencies underneath the layers of culture and trauma and context and family life and authority and expectations and limitations, and underneath all of that, what are your letters? That's what I think the test should answer, and the test does not answer that. And don't forget to incorporate a layer of self-deception. I'm in the process of rewriting a test, and I really do think that I can rewrite a test that will not allow self-deception to get in the way of your results. I really do. Challenge accepted. But that's really what we should be looking for here. Underneath all the layers of bullshit, what are the letters tattooed on your soul? That's what we should be trying to help people figure out here. That's what I am trying to do with this tool. I am trying to help people figure out what letters are tattooed on their soul, not if you stand in a corner at a party or in the center of the room. I'm so annoyed. I'm so annoyed. I hate the test. The other thing I said I was going to talk about in this video is the damage that is done by having so many people walking through the world with the wrong test results. The damage is absurd. And here's why. Each type has a mission in life. Each type has a superpower. Each type has a reason for existing that is different than all other 15 types. But we have a ton of people walking through the world being really hard on themselves for not being able to get motivated, for not being able to get excited, for not being able to get confident in and make the most of the traits that we're telling them that they have. We're telling them about some random behaviors. We're not telling them about the letters tattooed on their soul, because trust me, when they sit and stare at the letters tattooed on their soul, everything begins to change. I know someone personally whose life and influences had pulled them so far away from their core operating system that all 4 out of 4 letters were contrary to the letters tattooed on their soul. And it makes so much sense, so much sense that we're all lost, that we all cannot figure out why we can't get motivated, why we can't get excited, why we can't have enthusiasm, why we always feel broken, and why we, oh, it makes so much fucking sense, because we live in a mean, cruel, demanding, selfish world that pulls all of us away from our operating system constantly. And then we introduce tools that literally could help us find our way home to our core operating system. And what do? We make tests that tell you about if you'd rather read a book or go to a party. What the are we doing? I'm stressed. I'm gonna use this tool to help people find their way back home. Help people find their way back to their core operating system. Help people see the letters tattooed on their soul underneath the layers of bull, underneath everything that is pulling at you daily and ripping you away from your center. And then once we get people back at their core operating system, figure out how to become the best version of someone with those letters. Because what happens at that point is you are aligned with and confident in your mission. You are aligned with and confident in your superpowers. You are aligned with and confident in the reason that you exist, and the unique reason that you exist that doesn't apply to 15 out of 16 other types in the entire world. We need to get people to a place where they have the correct test results, where they understand the letters that are tattooed on their soul. And the current Myers-Briggs test, the current 16 personalities test, just won't cut it. Clearly, I'm ready to fight about this. Anyway, that's the lesson for today. And over the next few days, in the next few videos, I'm going to be talking about the 5 major driving questions that Myers-Briggs asks. I'm going to be talking about the spectrums that they graph us on, and the questions that we need to be asking that the test is not asking, so we can really truly place ourselves and place other people accurately, so we can start dealing with reality. At the end of every video, I would love your best updated guess on what you think my letters are. I will reveal it at the end of this marathon. But thank you for tuning in. Have a beautiful day. Class is dismissed, and I will see you again tomorrow.